So, made it back in here to these sand hills. It's about a 2.5 mile walk. I gotta work my way along these ridge lines, and I'm gonna get out there to where I found those oaks dropping. It said we had a west wind, which is about as worse as the worst wind I could have to hunt those oaks. So I'm gonna stay up on these sandhill ridges, and I got my spotting scope out here with me today. I'm just gonna set up and see if I can see deer moving around, possibly set up for an evening hunt. That's the plan. Derek's about another 1.5 miles in further yet, where we saw some sign, and actually where we saw the elk from a couple days ago. But we bumped the buck in there as well, so we'll see what happens. So I'm headed all the way up to there. On the back side of that, I should be able to see the oaks. But I still got a lot of walking to do. Alright, got to my glassy knob. I may adjust it a little bit, but the second I came over the knob, looked out, and there were 3 deer walking across right where I thought they would be, walking into this oak grove. I'm on the west side. I'd love to dive in there and hunt it, but the wind is absolutely horrible. So I'm sitting back about 500 yards, I don't know, I'll range it here, somewhere between 400 and 500 yards, watching the entire western side of it. Hopefully I can see something move in. But right now I see another deer off in the distance, so let me turn the camera around. It's pretty far out. Let me see if I got enough zoom, or I'll have to break out the spotting scope. But we're gonna sit here all morning and see if we see something move in. As I'm filming this buck through my scope cam adapter, I turn around and notice on the back side I have 3 more buck moving in. Alright, well, it was a short morning, but it was pretty eventful. I hiked 2.5 miles in here this morning, got onto my little glassy knob here, and immediately 6 doe, 1 buck. I stood up and looked over into this little draw system over here, spotted 3 more buck, 1 being what I would consider a shooter, and as you can see, I got a yard sale going on. I panicked, grabbed my bow, grabbed my camera, forgot my rangefinder, got within 50 yards, but I didn't want to hook an arrow at an unknown distance, so I screwed that one. So we'll be back at it. It's been a crazy afternoon or evening. We decided to come in a little bit later today because the deer haven't been moving until like 7 o'clock. Well, I dropped Derek off at the other end of the property. And as he's walking into his bush, or whatever you want to call it, the things that we're sitting in, he saw that there was a buck making a rub, and then it bedded down. So he texted that he was going to try to put a stalk on, and I haven't heard from him since. Well, I come into my spot, and I look off to my south, and I see a shooter buck come running right towards where I'm at. He stops about 75, 85 yards and goes into a larger bush like this, and it pops out, comes even closer, gets to about 60, and drops down into the cattails. And I can't see him anymore, so I don't know if he's right here or not. So hopefully the action stays hot. We'll see what happens. At this point, the buck is at 70 yards, and I know he's coming my way, so it's time to put the big hammer down and get my bow. As I grabbed my bow, a doe blew behind me. He dropped out of sight, and I thought it was all over. Thinking my chance is gone, I stand up to see if I can see the buck run off. And just like yesterday, he's coming right at me. Biggest buck of my life. He's down. He didn't go more than like 50 yards.
Just an early phone call.
Yeah, hold on a second. Hold on.
Heavy breathing. Did you find
Hold on. All right, hold on. I gotta add somebody else yet. Can I? All right, Pete, Bishop, and Dave, you should be on here. On the can everybody hear me?
If you didn't get it on camera, don't come back.
It's on the GoPro. It's on the GoPro. Same spot as that buck was in last night. I smoked him.
Nice.
Inside of 20. I have him. I saw him pop up like, I don't know, 200 yards away, and I got like 8 minutes of him just walking slow into me, and then he disappeared. And then a doe came in behind me and blew and ran off, and I'm like, you got kidding me. And it went like 10 minutes went by, so I slowly started to stand up, and he was standing at like 20 yards, and I just dropped back down into my knees, turned my GoPro on, and he walked out identical like the buck did last night.
At this time, I didn't put my 35-yard panel on him. I put him at 20 because he was at like 18. Mule kicked. I don't know if I got the mule kick on the GoPro. And then he went up. It's going to suck because the GoPro doesn't zoom. But he went maybe 60 yards and just fell right over in the beans.
I mean, have you gone and looked at him yet?
No, I haven't gone and looked at him yet. I tried to get on the phone. What's that?
I think I'm more fascinated that I didn't know an iPhone could do like full-way combat.
Well, I didn't either.
Honestly, I looked at my watch and I saw it was you. I was like, either something bad happened or something really good happened. I knew it was early.
I totally lost it.
Did you throw your bow?
I dropped it once he fell over because I fell over. And I'm like, why do people react like that? I've never in my life have gotten that excited. Like, I've gotten excited, don't get me wrong. But like totally lose your beans. I lost my beans.
You put in a lot of damn hard work, a lot of miles, and you probably just killed the biggest deer that you've ever shot before.
Yeah, but now.
With a bow.
Oh, there he is. I was starting to get scared because I couldn't find him. Watch him be a little 2-point.
We call that a Mississippi 11 point.
Oh God, he's big. His body's big. Oh man.
Is it a mule deer? Oh my God. What if it's real big? What if it's like a deer and a half old elk? We'll be out there with a shovel all night just trying to bury it. I mean, are you on your deer right now?
Yes, I'm standing over top of him.
Where's he at? Is he at 5 points, 6 points, 20 points?
He's not 1, 2, 3. Perfectly symmetrical 8-point.
Velvet or not?
No, hard horn. Man. Oh God. Oh.
You really earned that one for sure.
Oh man. You have no idea.
To get nervous for you guys.
All right, well, after the shot, I kind of lost my marbles there. Could tell I was a little excited, put a lot of work in, and I was just happy to finally harvest a mature deer out here in North Dakota. So we're gonna head in now and pack it out. So out here in North Dakota, Derek and I had the honor and privilege to spend a night with Medal of Honor recipient Clint Romachet, and he was kind enough to give us one of these knives, one of these case knives, for our hunt out here. And I don't know what better way to honor him than to punch my tag with Clint's signature knife.
All right, Clint, thank you for your service to our country. You're a pretty down-to-earth guy, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate you giving us this knife, and we're going to make the first cut on this deer with your knife here.
All right, we're back out at it. We slept in this morning. We didn't get, I don't think, to bed till about 2:30 in the morning after we deboned and packed that buck out. And, you know, we celebrated with some bush lights. So we're back out at the same spot. Normally I would not hunt an area this heavily, but we just keep seeing bucks. So it's really hard to not come back. So Derek's on the other end of the property where he's been hunting. He did have encounters last night around the same time that I harvest that buck. So, you know, hopefully it happens tonight. I'm gonna set up about 400 yards from him at a nice observation. It's actually where I set up on day one, the very first hunt Friday afternoon. So if you remember that video, there was, I think, 10 different buck that night, 7 of them being shooters from that location. So I'm gonna set up there. I got the spotter. I have my phone cam, the scope cam adapter to try to document, and I should be able to see where he's at. And if everything comes together, I'll be able to video the deer come right past him, and he has my GoPro, so hopefully he can get the shot on camera. So we'll see what happens. Coming from this observation area, I can better explain the area that we've been hunting. That large shrub there in the middle, or group of bushes, was the primary bedding area throughout the week. And they would move through this slough here, through the cattails. And that bush there now that's in the center of the screen, that's where I primarily hunted my afternoons. The deer would congregate in that area by the tree on the right, and as the camera pans here to the right, you'll see there's a small strip of grass between the 2 soybean fields. And for some reason, the deer would use that as a transition area, and that's how they would move out of the property each evening. And it came in to be a perfect ambush spot.
This place is absolutely crazy. I am standing in a bad spot to have deer come close to me, but to observe the slough and possibly video Derek, because he's like 300 yards that way. And I literally just had a buck come in behind me, completely downwind, and walk 10 yards to my right. I'm going to drop that video right now. So I videoed him. He walked over the hill right to where I was in, right where I was last night when I shot mine. I'm assuming he saw the gut pile and the carcass because he turned left when all the deer movement has been right from that spot. Stood out on this hill, and I'm just about to get the camera set up. He just bolts for some reason and runs straight towards Derek. I can only hope Derek got a shot or is about to get a shot. I can't see exactly where he's at. But this place is crazy with the amount of bucks that are in here. So we still have 30... We still have like an hour of daylight or legal shooting. Man, I hope Derek gets a chance.
So this is a different buck. This is not the one that passed by me in the cornfield. It is now standing over the carcass from my deer last night. It is roughly 20 yards from the bush that I hunted out of last night, and Derek actually considered hunting out of this spot.
Man, I don't know what happened. I said that I saw that buck and it ran right towards Derek. And about 10 minutes later, it ran right out, right where he's at. And it ran across this bean field, and I used my binos. I watched it for about 300 yards, and it didn't look hit. It ran with its tail up for about 200 yards, and then put its tail down and just kind of walked off. So I don't know if he might have missed, if it might have smelled him. Maybe he shot at a different one. He has no cell service where he's at, so I really don't know what's going on. It's killing me. But during all that, I saw one other small buck and 5 doe. So there is a crap ton of deer in here. So still hoping for positive results once I hear from Derek. But we're going to get out of here soon. It's getting dark.
This is the same buck that passed by me in the cornfield at 10 yards. It stopped broadside, but was alert and looking at Derek. He decided to not take the shot since it was about 45 yards and alert. Here's that small buck and doe that I was referencing earlier, and as the camera pans over to the left, you'll see that buck again that was standing over my deer's carcass from the night prior. These are 2 additional bucks that I spotted on my way out to the truck.
Alright, so we are back in our evening spot, but it's morning. This is the first time that we've sat here in the morning, but we only have tonight and tomorrow morning left before we have to head back. So Derek decided to risk it and come in here in the morning in hopes of, 1, getting a shot this morning, but most importantly to see where these bucks are going to bed. If we can find that information out, then maybe we'll be more successful this evening. So we'll see what happens.
We spent the morning glassing over the entire slough that we've been hunting for the past week. This is the first time we've been in here in the morning, and we were shocked that we did not spot a single deer the entire morning coming back into the area that we have seen them bedded in. We can only assume that they came in before sunrise. All right, I think this might be the last hunt for our 2021 North Dakota trip. I don't think Derek's gonna hunt in the morning. He wants to get some sleep before we start our 24-hour drive back to his house and then another 5 hours to my house in Connecticut. So this is it. We're out here on this real big piece of public that we've hunted a few times over the last week. This is, I'm on the little glassy knob here that I was 2 mornings ago, where I filmed that bachelor group of bucks that had that one real nice one in it. They fed into this oak grove, and I got video of a bunch of other deer that morning going in there as well. The wind is absolutely perfect for the way that Derek went in, so we'll see what happens. Well, that's going to do it for our North Dakota trip. We saw so many deer this year, way more buck this year than last year. We had a lot of opportunities. I was lucky enough to harvest one, but unfortunately Derek wasn't able to punch his tag. I hope you enjoyed these videos. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit us up on Instagram or Facebook at Do It in Outdoors.